This isn't just a family story. It's a betrayal that destroyed my life.
My own son did this to me.
It's part mine. And I never saw it coming.
Being hospitalized for a month is an intense and often life-altering experience. It is not just a matter of physical confinement to a hospital bed. It represents a profound period of vulnerability, dependence, and disconnection from one's familiar environment. During this time, daily routines, autonomy, and even basic decision-making can be limited or completely taken over by medical staff. Patients rely on doctors, nurses, and caregivers for essential needs, from administering medications to monitoring their health, which can create a sense of helplessness and dependence that is difficult for anyone to endure. Beyond the medical aspects, hospitalization often involves a significant psychological and emotional toll. Spending an extended period away from home and loved ones can generate feelings of isolation, anxiety, and uncertainty about both one's health and the life left behind. Concerns about responsibilities at home, the well-being of family members, and the impact of one's absence on ongoing household matters can intensify feelings of vulnerability. A month in the hospital also disrupts social connections and communication. Even with phone calls or visits, the physical separation from home and family can make it difficult to maintain control or awareness of personal affairs. This absence can create opportunities for misunderstandings, miscommunications, or, in some cases, more serious consequences if decisions are made without the patient's knowledge or consent. Furthermore, the experience of hospitalization can leave a person physically weakened, mentally fatigued, and emotionally fragile. Recovery does not always end the moment one is discharged. It often continues at home, where strength must be rebuilt, routines resumed, and a sense of autonomy regained. Returning home after such a long absence is usually a moment of relief, hope, and expectation. It is a time to reconnect with familiar surroundings, regain independence, and resume control over personal life and possessions. In short, being hospitalized for a month is a period marked by vulnerability and significant disruption. It is a time when the focus is on survival and recovery, trusting that home, family, and personal affairs remain stable. Any shocking or expected changes during or immediately after this time can feel particularly devastating because they occur while one is physically and emotionally compromised, relying on others to manage the world outside the hospital walls. Returning home after a month in the hospital is usually a moment filled with mixed emotions, relief, joy, and sometimes apprehension. After being confined to a hospital room and dependent on medical staff for basic needs, stepping back into one's own home symbolizes a return to autonomy, control, and familiarity. The walls, furniture, and objects in the home are not just material possessions. They represent comfort, security, and personal history. After weeks of being away, most people look forward to reconnecting with their private space and reestablishing the routines that make daily life feel normal again. However, returning home is not merely a physical act. It carries emotional and psychological weight. During hospitalization, one may have imagined the homecoming in vivid detail, opening the door, seeing personal belongings untouched, and feeling the sense of stability that comes from being in one's own environment. This anticipation can amplify both joy and anxiety, as every sound, arrangement, or change may trigger heightened attention or concern. For many, coming home also represents the hope of resuming independence. After hospitalization, simple tasks that were previously automatic, cooking, cleaning, moving around the house, may have been disrupted or impossible. Returning home is often the first step toward reclaiming not just physical health, but also self-reliance. It offers the chance to reassert control over one's environment, make personal choices freely, and reestablish the rhythm of everyday life. Yet, the transition from hospital to home can also expose vulnerabilities. Being away for a month may mean that decisions were made in one's absence, routines were disrupted, or minor changes in the household occurred without knowledge. The return home, ideally a moment of relief and joy, can become unsettling if unexpected alterations have taken place. The emotional contrast between expectations and reality can be jarring, especially after a period focused on personal recovery and the assumption that home and possessions remained intact. In essence, returning home is far more than walking through the front door. It is a critical psychological and emotional milestone. It is a moment where the hope of resuming normal life meets the reality of what transpired during one's absence, signifying both restoration and potential challenges that reveal the fragility of one's world while vulnerable. Returning home after a long hospitalization is often envisioned as a moment of comfort and normalcy. One expects familiarity, the reassurance of possessions intact, and the continuation of the life temporarily left behind. However, discovering that significant changes have occurred in one's absence can be profoundly jarring. This unexpected shock feels like an emotional blow, intensifying feelings of vulnerability, confusion, and betrayal. It disrupts the sense of safety that was assumed to remain in one's own home. The element of surprise often magnifies the emotional impact, as returning home with the expectation of continuity confronts a reality never anticipated. Even small alterations in the household can feel unsettling, but when the change involves something as significant as ownership or control of property, it strikes at the core of security and autonomy. The realization that personal space, which should have been under one's control, has been altered or taken away, can create a sense of helplessness, compounded by the fact that it occurs at a moment of peak physical and emotional vulnerability, just emerging from a period of illness and dependence. Beyond the immediate emotional turmoil, this shock often triggers a rapid cascade of thoughts and questions. How could this happen without your knowledge or consent? Why were you not informed? Who made these decisions, and what were their motivations? Such questions reflect the deep sense of injustice and confusion accompanying sudden, unexpected changes. They challenge assumptions about trust, family loyalty, and the presumed stability of one's environment. Moreover, this shock can have ripple effects on relationships. The discovery of a major change in one's absence can create tension, conflict, and mistrust among family members, forcing a sudden confrontation with the reality of human behavior, including the possibility of betrayal by those closest to you. The emotional strain can be intense as the mind grapples with both the practical implications of the change and its personal impact on safety, dignity, and agency. In summary, the unexpected shock of discovering a major change after hospitalization is more than a moment of surprise. It is a profound emotional and psychological event that shakes a foundation of trust, challenges assumptions about stability and loyalty, and confronts one with the stark reality that life can change dramatically while one is vulnerable. Navigating this shock requires both emotional resilience and careful consideration of next steps, balancing immediate reactions with practical measures to address the situation. One of the most shocking aspects of returning home after a month in the hospital is realizing that someone close, your own son, has taken control of your property. This is not a minor oversight or simple miscommunication. It is a deliberate action that directly affects autonomy, security, and the trust inherent in family relationships. The idea that a son, someone trusted to respect authority and well-being, could make such a significant decision without knowledge is deeply unsettling. This act of taking control involves more than physical possession. It represents a shift in power. While hospitalized and unable to manage affairs, the son assumed authority over the home, a place that should have remained under parental control. This can feel like a personal violation, undermining fundamental boundaries between parent and child, home and outsider, authority and subordination, and challenging assumptions about loyalty, respect, and family ethics. The emotional impact of such an action is complex. There is often an immediate mix of shock, anger, sadness, and disbelief. Questions about intent, motivation, and morality arise. Did the son act out of personal gain, pressure from others, or misguided judgment? Understanding why this happened can be as difficult as dealing with the consequences. This action also raises practical concerns. By taking control of the property, the son may have altered legal ownership, access rights, or household management. The consequences can ripple beyond emotional distress, potentially affecting finances, living arrangements, and legal standing. What may have seemed like a temporary oversight during absence can escalate into a long-term problem requiring careful navigation of both family dynamics and legal frameworks. Moreover, this situation underscores the vulnerability created by hospitalization. While focused on recovery, someone trusted exercised control in ways that disregarded authority and well-being. This creates not only a material challenge, dealing with the house being given away, but also a profound emotional challenge, reconciling the behavior of a family member with the love, trust, and expectations previously held. In essence, the son's action is a pivotal moment in the narrative of returning home. It transforms a situation of temporary absence into a confrontation with betrayal and loss, forcing navigation of the delicate intersection of family relationships, legal rights, and personal boundaries. Understanding, addressing, and responding to this action is critical for regaining stability, asserting rights, and protecting both property and emotional well-being. One of the most distressing aspects of this situation is the actual transfer of your house to another party while you were hospitalized. The home, likely a central part of your life and a symbol of stability, was given away without your knowledge or consent. This is more than a financial or legal issue. It is a profound emotional and psychological blow. Homes are not just structures. They carry memories, personal history, and a sense of identity. The realization that this tangible part of your life has been handed to someone else can feel like an erasure of your efforts, investments, and personal significance. The transfer of property often occurs in ways that leave the rightful owner feeling powerless. While you were recovering and unable to manage or oversee your affairs, others acted on your behalf or in disregard of your authority, altering the legal and practical ownership of your home. Such a situation can be bewildering because it challenges fundamental assumptions about property rights, family trust, and ethical behavior. The emotional impact is intensified because it involves someone you trusted, magnifying the sense of betrayal. Legally, a transfer of property without your consent may involve serious ramifications. Depending on the circumstances and local laws, such a transfer could be invalid, fraudulent, or reversible through legal action. However, confronting this reality often requires navigating complex legal procedures, gathering evidence, and asserting your rights, all while coping with the emotional distress caused by the loss. The legal challenges can be daunting, but they are critical to restoring ownership and reestablishing a sense of security. The emotional toll of losing a home in this way cannot be underestimated. It is common to feel shock, anger, grief, and confusion simultaneously. The home is tied to personal autonomy, and its transfer can feel like a violation, shaking trust in family relationships and the broader sense of safety in one's environment. There is also the added stress of dealing with potential consequences for living arrangements, finances, and future plans. Ultimately, the transfer of property while vulnerable transforms a private and intimate space into a contested zone. It forces confrontation with both legal and emotional challenges, navigating family dynamics fraught with tension, and asserting rights under circumstances that may feel overwhelming. This pivotal event underscores the importance of vigilance, clarity in legal ownership, and the need to balance emotional responses with practical action to reclaim what is rightfully yours. One of the most unsettling aspects of this situation is discovering not only that your house was given away, but also who received it, your son's wife's family. This detail intensifies both the emotional and relational impact of the act. The decision to transfer such a valuable and personal asset to extended family members rather than the rightful owner can feel like a betrayal that goes beyond material loss. It raises profound questions about loyalty, intentions, and family dynamics. The concept of beneficiaries in a property transfer carries inherent power and responsibility. In this case, the beneficiaries were not neutral parties, but individuals closely related to your son through marriage. This creates layered complexity. The transaction is entwined with familial ties, personal alliances, and possibly cultural or societal expectations. While your son may have believed he was acting in the interest of his spouse or her family, the act disregarded your authority, ownership rights, and the trust that should exist between parent and child. The choice of beneficiaries underscores a prioritization of external family connections over the direct familial bond with you, the homeowner. Emotionally, knowing the house went to your son's wife's family can provoke a mixture of anger, disappointment, and disbelief. It can feel like an intentional decision to exclude you from your own home's future, magnifying the sense of betrayal. Such acts often lead to questions about fairness, motives, and respect. Was this a calculated decision, a misunderstanding, or influenced by pressure from others? The emotional weight is compounded when the beneficiaries are not strangers, but individuals with whom your family interacts regularly, intensifying tension and distrust. This scenario also has practical implications. Transferring property to your son's wife's family may complicate legal recovery if the transfer was unauthorized or contested. Resolving the situation may involve navigating both civil law and family dynamics, requiring careful planning, evidence collection, and legal counsel. Beyond legality, there is the challenge of rebuilding trust and managing relationships strained by this act. Ultimately, the identity of the beneficiaries transforms the situation from a simple matter of property loss into a complex interplay of family relationships, loyalty, and ethical responsibility. It highlights the delicate balance between legal rights, personal bonds, and the emotional consequences of decisions made in your absence. Understanding the choice of beneficiaries and its broader implications is crucial for addressing both the legal and emotional aftermath, as well as for protecting your home, authority, and family relationships going forward. The transfer of your house to your son's wife's family inevitably gives rise to family conflict. This situation is not merely about the material loss of property, it strikes at the heart of trust, loyalty, and communication within the family. Family dynamics are inherently complex, built on layers of love, obligation, and expectation. When one family member makes a unilateral decision that profoundly affects others, it can disrupt these dynamics, creating tension, resentment, and even long-lasting divisions. The sense of betrayal is often the most emotionally charged element. Parents naturally expect respect and care from their children, particularly when they are vulnerable, such as during or after hospitalization. When a son takes control of a home and transfers it to another family, it can feel like a deep personal affront. It challenges the assumption that family members act in each other's best interests and may lead to feelings of anger, sadness, and disbelief. Trust, an essential component of any healthy family relationship, can be severely eroded, sometimes beyond immediate repair. Family conflict in situations like this is rarely limited to the direct participants. Extended family, neighbors, or even close friends may become involved, either as witnesses, advisors, or supporters. Opinions, alliances, and loyalties can further complicate the situation. Misunderstandings can multiply as each party interprets the actions and motives of others through their own lens of values and experiences. What may have been a single decision by one family member can quickly escalate into a wider dispute affecting multiple relationships. Additionally, the conflict may expose underlying tensions that existed prior to the incident. Disagreements about finances, property, or family roles may have been dormant or minor, but a significant action like transferring a house can magnify these issues. Patterns of favoritism, miscommunication, or differing expectations can surface, making resolution more challenging. Resolving family conflict in such cases requires a careful balance between emotional processing and practical action. Addressing feelings of betrayal, establishing boundaries, and clarifying intentions are as important as understanding legal rights or reclaiming property. Mediation or professional counseling may be needed to prevent long-term rifts and facilitate constructive dialogue. In essence, family conflict arising from this incident is a multi-dimensional challenge. It intertwines emotional trauma, broken trust, and relational complexity with legal and material concerns. Recognizing the depth of the conflict, its origins, and potential pathways to resolution is critical for navigating both the immediate aftermath and the long-term restoration of family relationships. One of the most pressing aspects of discovering that your house was given away while you were hospitalized is understanding the legal implications. Property ownership is governed by strict laws designed to protect the rights of the rightful owner, and any transfer made without consent may be legally questionable or outright invalid. The fact that this transfer occurred while you were incapacitated or absent introduces additional complexities, including potential claims of fraud, coercion, or undue influence. The first consideration is ownership. If the house is solely in your name, any transfer executed without your signature or legal authorization may be contested in court. Even if the property was jointly owned or otherwise subject to family agreements, unauthorized transfers can be challenged, particularly when the owner was absent due to hospitalization and unable to give informed consent. The law generally assumes that property decisions require the consent of all legal owners, and failure to obtain it can render the transaction void or voidable. Additionally, the circumstances surrounding the transfer are significant. The act of giving the house to your son's wife's family raises questions about intent and fairness. Was there undue pressure, misrepresentation, or exploitation of your vulnerability during your hospitalization? These factors may strengthen a legal claim to reverse the transfer. Courts often scrutinize transactions that occur under conditions where the property owner could not freely exercise judgment, recognizing the risk of exploitation in such situations. Beyond ownership disputes, legal action may involve documentation, evidence, and procedural steps. You may need to prove that the house was yours, that the transfer was unauthorized, and that you did not consent to the transaction. This could involve presenting deeds, financial records, communication logs, or witness statements. Consulting a lawyer experienced in property law is crucial, as they can guide you through filing claims, obtaining injunctions, or initiating legal proceedings to reclaim ownership. Finally, legal considerations intersect with emotional and familial dynamics. Pursuing legal action against a child or in-law can strain relationships further, but failing to address an unlawful transfer can result in permanent loss of property and security. Balancing the legal process with emotional realities requires careful planning, clear communication, and professional guidance. In summary, the legal and ownership implications of a house transfer made without consent are complex and potentially far-reaching. They encompass not only the technicalities of property law, but also issues of fairness, vulnerability, and family ethics. Understanding your rights and taking decisive legal steps are essential to reclaiming your property, protecting your interests, and restoring a sense of control over your life and home. The emotional impact of discovering that your house was given away while you were hospitalized cannot be overstated. Beyond the practical and legal implications, the situation strikes deeply at the core of personal security, trust, and family relationships. Returning home, which should have been a moment of relief and comfort, instead became a moment of shock and emotional upheaval, shattering the sense of stability you had expected. Shock is usually the first emotional response. After a month focused on recovery, you likely anticipated coming home to familiarity and safety. Instead, you were confronted with an unexpected reality in which a trusted family member had made a life-altering decision without your consent. This sudden disruption can leave you feeling disoriented as expectations of normalcy collide with the startling truth. Shock often evolves into disbelief, with racing thoughts. How could this happen? Why wasn't I informed? Who made this decision, and on what grounds? Betrayal is another dominant emotion. The house is not just property, it is a symbol of labor, memories, and personal history. Discovering that your son transferred it to his wife's family can feel like a personal affront, undermining the trust and loyalty expected from your own child. The sense of betrayal is compounded by the fact that the decision occurred while you were vulnerable and unable to oversee your affairs, amplifying feelings of exploitation and abandonment. Anger and frustration naturally follow. It is common to feel a mix of indignation at the perceived injustice and helplessness because the act has already occurred and requires legal or emotional intervention. These feelings can be intense, manifesting as irritability, agitation, or difficulty processing other aspects of life while dealing with this crisis. Finally, sadness and grief are profound components of the emotional impact. Losing a home or feeling stripped of personal authority can trigger mourning for both tangible and intangible losses, the loss of a physical space, a sense of security, and the trust and harmony within the family unit. The emotional impact is not fleeting. It can persist, influencing relationships, decision-making, and mental health. Processing these emotions requires support, whether through trusted friends, family, or professional counseling. Recognizing and validating your feelings is an important step in regaining resilience and preparing for the practical steps necessary to address the situation. After experiencing the shock, betrayal, and emotional upheaval caused by your son's decision to give your house to his wife's family, the next steps become critical. Addressing this situation requires a careful combination of emotional management, legal action, and strategic communication. Taking deliberate, thoughtful action can help protect your property, assert your rights, and begin the process of restoring family dynamics. The first step is to assess the situation thoroughly. This involves gathering all relevant documentation related to the property, deeds, ownership records, mortgage information, and any legal agreements. Understanding the legal status of your house is essential before taking further action. Additionally, documenting communications with your son, his wife, and any other family members involved can provide important evidence if legal proceedings become necessary. Next, it is important to consult a legal professional. A property lawyer experienced in cases of unauthorized transfers or family disputes can guide you through the process of reclaiming ownership or contesting the transfer. Legal action may include filing claims to reverse the transaction, seeking injunctions to prevent further changes, or negotiating settlements with the beneficiaries. A lawyer can also advise you on the likelihood of success and help you prepare for any court proceedings, ensuring your rights are fully protected. Simultaneously, addressing the emotional and relational aspects is crucial. Family conflicts of this magnitude can strain relationships permanently if not handled with care. Consider mediation or professional counseling to facilitate communication between parties, establish boundaries, and work toward resolution. Mediation can help clarify intentions, reduce misunderstandings, and create a framework for fair resolution without escalating tensions further. Another important step is to set clear personal boundaries. Clearly communicate your expectations regarding your property, decision-making authority, and personal space. Establishing these boundaries helps prevent further unauthorized actions and reinforces your autonomy, both legally and emotionally. Finally, plan for the long-term management and security of your property. Once ownership is clarified, take steps to safeguard your home, such as updating legal documentation, limiting unauthorized access, and ensuring that future decisions regarding your property require your explicit consent. In essence, resolving this situation involves a multifaceted approach. By combining legal action, careful documentation, emotional support, mediation, and proactive protection of your property, you can navigate the aftermath of this crisis. Taking deliberate, structured steps helps you regain control, protect your interests, and begin restoring both your home and the trust within your family. Friends, this story is not just about a house. It's about trust, family, and what happens when someone is at their most vulnerable. A person lying in a hospital bed is not only fighting for their health, but trusting that their life, home, and relationships are safe outside those walls. If you felt the pain, truth, and reality in this story, please like this video. For more real-life experiences and meaningful stories, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what truly matters. And most importantly, share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think what happened was right or wrong? What would you do if you were in this situation? Your comment might give strength, clarity, or courage to someone going through something similar. See you in the next video with another story, another truth.